आउटसेट मैं अपना बहुत बहुत आभार प्रकट करना चाहती हूँ ब्रदर राजीव माथुर जी और डॉक्टर राजीव गुप्ता के प्रति, जिन्होंने आज मुझे ये अवसर दिया कि मैं आप सबके सामने अपने थॉट्स रख सकूं, शेयर कर सकूं. So I will be taking this session in English, but we can have discussions or questions in Hindi. So what I feel that one of the most important teachings in Theosophy, it is the constitution of man. In fact, not only constitution of man, the concept that everything is septenary. The universe itself is septenary and everything in the universe is septenary. So by studying this sevenfold composition of man, it gives us an insight into our real nature. And I would like to share the slides based on this topic. Okay, so man, mind, and monad. Now, we all know that Theosophy teaches man is septenary. And the sevenfold man, he evolves over cycles of time. What do we mean by cycles of time? It means that the principles of man, they have to pass through similar experiences repeatedly until they are perfected. For example, we know the cycle of reincarnation, which perfects the personality or the lower four principles, that is, Sthul Sharir, Linga Sharir, Pran, and Kam. So, these cycles of times, the interesting thing about them is that the time period of evolution for all the seven principles is not the same. There are shorter evolutionary cycles which run within the longer cycles and which run within even longer cycles. So, this forms a three-tiered cyclic evolutionary process. It consists of, as we said, the first or the shortest cycle is the evolution and perfection of the personality, our lower four principles. This evolutionary cycle, it takes place within the larger or the longer evolutionary cycle of our individuality. That is the higher three principles, Atma, Buddhi, Manas. And this in turn is again evolving within a still larger evolutionary cycle of the monad. That is our highest two principles, Atma, Buddhi. So the significance about going deeper into the study of man, mind, and monad is that we realize our divine origin, our inheritance. And by this, we can speed up our evolutionary cycles by our own individual effort, individual merit, and also help others to do so, to realize the inherent divinity in us. So we will begin. Now I'll go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm on slide number 3, which is the constitution of man in embodied existence. Okay, we will briefly. अच्छा अभी फर्स्ट स्लाइड आ रही है. Okay, can you see the second slide now? Okay. Okay, I'll stop sharing. Full screen पे करने से फिर वो scroll नहीं हो रही. I'll just check it. Now I'm on the second slide, three-tiered evolution of septenary man. I'm going to the third one. Can you see the third slide? No, okay. So doing full screen doesn't help. I'll have to keep it in this mode. Is this okay? Okay. So this was the, okay, let me start. This was about the three-tiered evolution of the septenary man, where we spoke about the time of evolution for all the principles is not same. So we have cycles of evolution within larger cycles which is within even larger cycles. So the personality, it evolves within the evolutionary cycle of our individuality, which evolves within even the longer cycle of our monad, the monadic cycle. So this, I just wanted to share the second slide, and now moving on to the third slide. So here we'll have a quick overview of the septenary man. The man is septenary in his embodied existence. That is a very important statement. When we are embodied, we have all the seven principles. But as we evolve, tier by tier, these principles which have been perfected, they drop out. So that is the significance. Constitution of man in embodied existence. We all know this. It is very simple. Atma, Buddhi, Manas, that is the seventh, sixth, and fifth. Then we have the lower quaternary, the desire principle, Kam, then Pran, Linga Sharir, and Sthul Sharir. Now, Atma, it is defined as our universal self or divine spiritual self. There was an interesting question once in one of the sessions. I was asked that what is the difference between divine and spiritual. Many times, without knowing, interchangeably we use the two. But just to be precise, divine, this term is used for the highest principle. It is used for Atma or Par Brahma. And the term spiritual, it describes how close any other principle is to divinity. Okay, Atma is divine. How close you are to that. So, for instance, consider the principle Buddhi and consider the principle Kam Manas. Out of the two, obviously, Buddhi is more spiritual than Kam Manas. Okay, so that is the difference, the way in which these two terms are used. And Atma, we know it is a universal principle. So it is the universal self, but it can manifest only through Buddhi. That is why it is called the divine spiritual self. Now, Atma is, it's not an individual principle. We cannot say your Atma or my Atma. It is the radiation of the absolute. Just like the sunbeams, they are inseparable from the sunlight which shines on all. They cannot be separated. So then, in that case, what is the highest principle which gives the first notion of identity of a manifested being? Because Atma is universal. So, what is it that gives the first identity of an individual manifested being? That HPB said is taken to be the auric envelope. The auric envelope, it can be for the entire cosmos or for a logos or for individual man also. We can think of it like it is a bubble. It is a bubble of one life within the sea of one life. Basically, it is the first differentiation or the most subtle film of matter. Okay, so auric envelope, I would say it is Purna within Purna. Okay, but here for the sake of this session, we are taking Atma, the universal self or the divine spiritual self, as the seventh principle. The sixth principle, Buddhi, that is our spiritual self. It is the spiritual intelligence, the supreme wisdom, intuition, what we may also call as pragya. It becomes pragya when it is unfolded in man. Right now, we don't operate from buddhi, we operate from manas, that too which is permeated with calm. But when buddhi unfolds, it is pragya or insight. And buddhi, we know it is the material basis which manifests the light of Atma. Atma is radiation, it is the spirit. It can be manifested only through a material basis, which is buddhi. So, buddhi is the upadhi of Atma. For instance, if you consider sunlight, it travels through space, but space is dark. Only when the sunlight falls on the particles in the atmosphere of Earth, then it becomes perceptible as the daylight. So, same with Atma. It is universal, it is there everywhere. But the light of that Atma is perceptible, it is known when it manifests through buddhi. So, Madam Blavatsky has mentioned that buddhic substance, it is matter in its sixth and seventh state. We are familiar with the seven cosmic planes. The highest plane is the seventh plane, and the next below it is the sixth plane. So, buddhic substance is the matter of sixth and seventh state. These things will become clearer when we go further. Okay. Now, buddhi, we said it is the spiritual intelligence, the faculty of direct knowledge. When buddhi is in conjunction with manas, that is when it becomes the voice of our conscious. We say that the small inner voice which tells us what is right and what is wrong, that comes from buddhi, but not directly from buddhi. It is in conjunction with the manas. Now, pure consciousness, it cannot manifest without the substance of buddhi. That means Atma has to manifest through buddhi. Together they work in unison. And therefore, Atma Buddhi is properly termed as the monad. Okay, I'm on the same slide number 3, and we are talking about the sixth principle, that is buddhi. And Atma Buddhi, because they function together in unity, that is why they are termed as the monad. The next lower principle is manas, which we normally call the human mind. But manas is much more than the mind. Manas, if you see here on the slide, it is termed as the planetary self. Now, why is it planetary self? Because that is the future of every man. There will come a time in human evolution, precisely speaking, at the close of 7 rounds. Currently, we are in the fourth round. This is about the rounds and races of the septenary earth. So, at the close of 7 rounds, there will come the time in human evolution when man will reach the stage of being a planetary spirit. Like we know, our Lord Gautam Buddha, he was the first of our present humanity to have become so. And this is a very big hint about the future of mankind. Now, generally, Manas is called as human soul. Manas is not called generally as the planetary self. Okay, because that is the future of mankind. Presently, at the present level of evolution, it is the human soul. And its future is to become this planetary soul or the planetary self. Just imagine that grandeur of our future, the lofty heights on the cosmic scale which we will attain. But what do we see at the present times? Man who is holding on to his petty personal ego, man fighting man, man killing man, one nation pitted against the others. When we talk of such lofty things, they are not limited to just speaking in a forum, one the speaking, the other the listening. But they have to make us become that. That is, transformation is what is needed. These teachings, which were given by the great ones, they are being heard, being spoken about, so that we bring about a self transformation. So, what is human soul now will one day become the planetary self. And we have to awaken to this truth of our own being. So these upper three principles, Atma, Buddhi, Manas, they form our real individuality, the immortal spiritual ego. It is called the God in us, figuratively. And this immortal individuality, it has independent existence on the higher planes. But on the physical plane, that is the plane of our earth, it must work through the mortal personality. The mortal personality are the lower four principles, which are given here as the fourth one, the desire principle, that is calm. It is our animal self because it is the embodiment of our passions, emotions, and desires. But one thing we must remember that calm, while having lower or baser passions and emotions, it is not altogether bad because it helps man to evolve by giving the desire and the impulse for rising. That is very necessary. Calm may be directed for selfish purposes, towards achieving personal goals, but it may equally be directed towards spiritual purposes. It may be directed towards helping others, towards selfless service. So, an interesting thing to note is that manas and kam, conceptually, they are separate principles, but functionally, thoughts and feelings are indivisible. Thoughts originate from manas, and feelings have their source in kam. And thoughts and feelings, they are indivisible functionally, but manas and kam are separate principles conceptually. So calm can be brought under the guidance of manas, under the guidance of buddhi manas, to make our personality a fit instrument of our higher self, of the monad, the God within us. Next, we'll have a brief look at pran, which we say is the vital astral self. We call it vital because it is the field of vital currents, electric and magnetic. And astral because astral body is the vehicle of pran. So, if you look at it in one sense, pran is basically an aspect of one life. The one life, it permeates and animates all. We are in the physical embodied existence, we are like swimming in the sea of one life, and we absorb this one life. Whatever we absorb becomes the pran in us, and it makes us physically alive. And when pran exits, physical death occurs. But the higher self, the individuality, that is Atma, Buddhi, Manas, it persists. It does not require pran. It is not dependent on pran. Next, we come to the Ling Sharir, which is our astral model around which the physical body is formed. And it is also the Upadhi or vehicle of pran. And lastly, the seventh, we have our Sthul Sharir or the physical body. It is the vehicle of all other principles during life, and it is the means by which man is able to function on earth. So, these septenary principles everyone is aware of in Theosophy. And we also know that at the current level of evolution, man functions through calm manas, through his personality. Our mind is seeped with personal desires, and it is deluded with a sense of personal self. And this makes him feel separate from everything else. This is the root cause of selfishness. But having said so, man also has the capability of extricating his mind from calm. And thus, when he extricates his mind from calm, he can work with selflessness and with altruism, which is the goal of all our spiritual discipline, all our sadhana. Why we are doing all this? To be able to extricate our mind from calm. Okay, and service is the surest and simplest way of doing so. That is why the three pillars of theosophy are of the Theosophical Society are study, meditation, and service. Okay, once we are successful in extricating the mind from calm, then the human soul, it becomes capable to evolve into a planetary spirit. It becomes the planetary self. The planetary self, they are the rulers or governors of planets. Currently, we are ruler and governor just of our physical body. But when we can extricate ourselves from this desire principle, the personal passion, selfishness, then our human soul, manas, it can evolve to become a planetary self, the ruler or a governor of a planet. This glorious future, it is very beautifully explained in one of the books which I like very much. It is The Secret of Self-Realization, a commentary by Dr. I.K. Temini on Pratibhikya Hridayam. The last verse of that, it describes beautifully of what this planetary self is, what is the future of man. And a master of wisdom has said that the future of human soul is the future of a thing whose growth and splendor has no limit. No, these are the things we should realize. They are not mere words, they are a fact and they are achievable. Further, the manas, it can be fully assimilated with buddhi. As it evolves, it will be fully assimilated with buddhi, becoming our spiritual self, which is the monad. Such are the Dhyan Chohans, the highest beings of the seven great hierarchies. And finally, the spiritual self, that is the monad, it can also merge into the one reality to become the universal self. Thus, mind and monad of man, it is a ladder to his divinity. The constitution of man, it links him inseparably to the universe and to Parabrahma. That is why it is so important not just to superficially know the septenary constitution of man, but to study and understand in depth the meaning of each of the principle which constitutes man. Now let us have a look at our cosmic connection. Okay, so to understand that we are connected to the universe or to the cosmos, we must know or we must understand the progressive order of manifestation of the universe from the unknowable manifest. And this is very nicely given in the secret doctrine, that is the first fundamental proposition. There, HPB has mentioned it. She speaks about the absolute, which is Par Brahma. It is the one reality she calls Sat. Okay, and Parabrahma or the absolute, it is both absolute being as well as non-being. Why she calls it absolute being? Because in this absolute all lies concealed its inherent radiation. Radiation, understand radiation like, um, if you stand near a heater, the heat from the heater is radiating, it reaches you. So, same way, in this Parabrahma, in the absolute all, its inherent radiation lies concealed and it periodically emanates to become the universe. That is why Parabrahma or the absolute is called absolute being. And it is also called non being. How can it be non being? Because it will always remain a mystery to the finite mind. The manifested mind or the finite mind can never fathom Parabrahma. It is unknowable. Now, having said that, it is also mentioned that periodically that inherent radiation will emanate to become the universe. So, from within this absolute being dawns the first manifestation, the impersonal logos. Please refer to point number 2 on the slide. This impersonal logos, it appears within the one reality and it is the radiation of that one reality. Yet it is still unmanifest. The universe has not yet manifested. So, this impersonal logos is the unconscious precursor of the manifested. Right? It is the first cause or the first logos. This is the seventh cosmic principle, which we say is the seventh cosmic plane. So, as we uh, read this progressive order, we study the progressive order of manifestation, you will see it relates to the seven cosmic planes. And the first cause is nothing but the seventh cosmic plane. Now, in various philosophies, you will find different names are given to this. This is called Shiva or Param Shiv. Okay. Or as we said, it is also called Parbrahma. Parbrahma is something which we that is given in first point, the absolute reality. But it can also be called, or rather, it can be called as Brahma. Point number 2. Then, next, point number 3. From that first cause, the first cause is abstract, it is unconscious logos. But from that emanates absolute consciousness or awareness, which is spirit matter or the one life. So, this is called the second logos, and it is the sixth principle of the universe, or the sixth plane of the universe. So, from abstract consciousness has emanated pure awareness, which is the spirit of the universe. You look at this uh, correspondence in man, the sixth principle. It is buddhi, pure consciousness. Okay. And the seventh principle, atma, it is abstract spirit. Because we'll see later that Atma Buddhi Manas is nothing but the radiation of these cosmic principles. Okay? So we are looking at the progressive order of manifestation of universe from the unknowable manifest. Now we have seen how pure consciousness or spirit matter, the one life, manifests. Next, in the stage of manifestation, is the cosmic ideation. It emanates from the pure awareness, from the spirit matter. You see, spirit matter is spirit hyphen matter. It is not separate. It is not spirit separate, matter separate. It is the one life. Okay, so it is written like that, spirit hyphen matter, Purush Prakriti. And from this one life emanates the cosmic ideation or intelligence, which is called Mahat. That is on the fifth cosmic plane. And this is the universal world soul. Now, compare it to what is there in the microcosm or man. Our fifth principle is manas, right? It is called the human soul. Similarly, at this macrocosmic level, the world soul or the soul of the universe, that is Mahat, which is cosmic ideation. It is called infinite mind, or it is called cosmic mind, or cosmic ideation. Whatever name, names are just there to give you an idea of what it is. By, by this law of as above, so below, you should be able to understand what are the three higher cosmic principles and how they radiate or reflect into every microcosm and macrocosm. So these three principles, the first logos, then the spirit of the universe, that is second logos, and the universal world soul, which is the third logos, they are the progressive stages of manifestation of the world or manifestation of Brahmand. And these three principles, the higher three principles, they are Brahma. Brahma itself expands to become Brahmand. Right? It is said the third logos, which is called Brahma, these first, second, third logos, they are Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. And Brahma expands to become the entire universe, the Brahmand. So these three is the Trinity, the divine Trinity, the divine upper triad of the cosmos. It is nothing but Brahma. It manifests within the pure divine abstraction of Parbrahma, which is given in point one, the absolute Parbrahma. From that, all this is emanating. Okay. So what we have seen, it is Brahma within Parbrahma. Purna se Purna ki utpatti. That is what we have seen. And this universal world soul, it is reflected in man. We'll see this reflection about, let's go to the next slide. It talks about the immortality of the real man. The In the previous slide, we saw the manifested divine cosmic triad, which is Brahma. And it is reflected in every macrocosm and in every microcosm in the universe. This is the reason the Mahavakya in our Upanishad, Aham Brahmasmi, because we are that reflection. The reflection in man is Atma Buddhi Manas, the real immortal man. Atma is nothing else. It is the first logos, the radiation of the first logos, which is called the one flame. And Buddhi, it is the radiation of the second logos, the universal spirit or the eternal essence, right? Pure consciousness, pure awareness, pure knowledge, supreme knowledge. And then its radiation is Manas. Manas is radiation of the third logos, which is Mahat or divine ideation or the universal soul. So Manas becomes human soul. Okay? So now we can realize why the real man is immortal. It is not just theory, it is real. It is a fact that Atma Buddhi Manas, that is the real immortal man. Buddhi and Manas in man both are the primordial rays of the one flame of the first logos. Therefore, neither of them can become extinct. Neither of them can be annihilated, either in essence or in consciousness. Now, let us understand the functioning of buddhi and manas. When we speak of Atma Buddhi, then Buddhi has the same relation to Atma as Mool Prakriti has to Parbrahma. I haven't used this term in my current session till now. Mool Prakriti. What is Mool Prakriti? Basically, Parbrahma is unknowable. So then what is knowable? If we say that man is Brahma or we are the radiation from Parbrahma, it is Mool Prakriti. Mool Prakriti is a veil, it's a covering on Parbrahma. It is an aspect of Parbrahma. They are actually two sides of the same coin. But Parbrahma is unknowable and Mool Prakriti makes itself knowable by manifestation. So all manifestation comes from Mool Prakriti. Okay, whatever we said, first logos, second logos, third logos, it is all from the Mool Prakriti aspect of Parbrahma. Now, similarly, Atma, it is the abstract radiation, the divine flame, which cannot be reached because it is abstract. It is the unmanifest first cause. But its light, which manifests through its upadhi, that is buddhi. Atma manifests through buddhi, meaning the light of Atma, which manifests through buddhi, that can be reached. Buddhi is supreme knowledge, it is pragya, and we can reach that. Therefore, it is said you can enter the light, but you cannot touch the flame. Okay, so you see, buddhi is so spiritual that on our physical plane, on the plane of this earth, it can have no influence by itself. It is very spiritual. It can function on the spiritual plane only when it is united with the next lower radiation of that primordial flame, that is manas, our conscious ego. Okay, but even then, sorry, manas is also immeasurably higher than the physical man. It cannot have a direct relation with the personality except through its radiation, through its reflection. It radiates as lower mind permeating the calm group. That is the only way manas can have a relation with the personality. Therefore, you see how the light of Atma, it radiates as spiritual light from Buddhi Manas, and it is transmitted through calm Manas, which then guides the personality. That is the thoughts, the emotions, and the actions. So, this is how man is functioning. And we are totally unaware of the existence. We do not experience the existence of that Atma Buddhi Manas. Our consciousness is totally centered in the calm Manas, in the personality. But Manas, which is the human soul, sorry, it Manas endows man with spiritual self consciousness. We are conscious of our own selves. This is absent in animal. Okay. And when manas unites with buddhi, we spoke about extricating manas from calm. So when mind is purified and it is extracted, totally extracted from calm, it can unite with buddhi in pure essence and then it becomes divine self consciousness. That is what is self realization or enlightenment or jivan mukti, because mind is totally removed from personality and absorbed in buddhi. So no more personality. So no more reincarnation, Jivan Mukti. Okay? So this is how the constituents or the principles of man they function. Now let's look at the origin of Manas. We have seen the order of manifestation of the universe. That order it is called the Manvantrik aspect of Parbrahma and Mool Prakriti. Okay, because it is manifesting the universe. The first logos, second logos, and third logos. And that happens after a period of universal pralay. So in that we have seen that Mahat or the universal world soul, it manifests on the third cosmic plane. It is corresponding to the mind or the manas in man. So how it emanates, how manas emanates, that is what we are trying to understand. So Mahat Once it is manifested on the third cosmic plane as the universal soul, it differentiates into seven creative rays or the seven logoi when it informs the universe. These seven creative rays, they are the Kumars. They are the sons of Mahat. Remember, Mahat is cosmic mind. Just like human mind is there, Mahat is cosmic mind. And when it differentiates, the manifestation of the sons of Mahat or the Kumars, that is what manifests. Because they are mind born. Mahat is universal mind. So Kumars are mind born. That is why they are called Manasputra or the Kumars. And it is these Kumars who incarnate in the personality of brute man. Man was like an animal in the course of evolution. He only had the body of a mind, but his instincts, his emotions were all of animal nature. So it is these Kumars, they incarnate in the personality of that animal man in the middle of the third root race, awakening the manas in him and endowing him with self consciousness that he is divine. So the human soul or manas in us has a divine origin. It is also called Manasputra. Now, what the esoteric teaching says, it says that Kumar is not a single being. Each Kumar is a pillar of light. Why it is called a pillar of light? Because it signifies a hierarchy of beings who are beings of light. They are the Dhyan Chohans. Each being belongs to this higher triad of the sons of Mahat. Okay, so they are beings of light. They only have that the higher triad, which is equivalent to the first logos, second logos, and third logos. They don't have the lower quaternary or the corporeal body. Okay? They are purely beings of light. And it is a hierarchy, so one below the other, endless hierarchy. And that is why each Kumar is called a pillar of light. Because within that hierarchy, each being is a being of light. And each of this being, it chooses its vehicle. So, as we said, in the middle of the third root race, they had to incarnate in the personalities of animal man. So, each being, each Kumar chooses its vehicle in which it has to incarnate, and then it expands, surrounding the human animal with the Akashic aura. Now, this I didn't tell you Akashic aura from where it comes. When we spoke of the seventh and sixth and fifth plane of the universe, on which universe, meaning the cosmos, on which are manifested the first logos, second logos, and third logos. That is equivalent to the seventh cosmic plane, the sixth cosmic plane, and the fifth cosmic plane. When we say plane, it is matter in its seventh, sixth, and fifth state, right? So the fifth state of matter, that is Akash. Akash is the fifth cosmic element, right? Vedanta speaks of five elements, we know that, and Theosophy speaks of seven. So above Akash, there is the sixth cosmic element or the sixth plane and the seventh plane. But Mahat, which is manifesting on the fifth cosmic plane, so it corresponds to Akash. That is why when the sons of Mahat, when they incarnate in the personality, then they expand and they surround that human animal with an Akashic aura. Okay, so that becomes Manas, the fifth principle, and that divine Manasic principle from the Manas Putra. It settles within that human form, that animal form, or rather, no, the animal man. Form is human only, but it was animal man. So now that being of light or that Kumar, it has become a human soul. This is how it ensouls the human personality. And that is what we really are. We are beings of light. That God within us, what we say, it is us. It is the Manasputra. It is the Kumar. It is the being of light. That is what we are. Now, I think we have very less time because there is a lot of things about this Kumar. It also relates to our solar ancestors, the Agnishvat. But I will not take that because I have to cover a lot more other things. So when the Manasputra it incarnated into the personality, it makes man a god. Okay, and man was and will re-become God. That is what is said. From time to time, we have great teachers who appear on earth and they teach mankind to look beyond this wheel of illusion, beyond our limited personality. And even if we have to wait for thousands and millions of years in this evolutionary cycle, there will come a time when man will re-become a race of God. So, in this evolutionary cycle, the personality will be perfected, and then we will reach the individuality, and then the monadic cycle, and man will re become what he was once. So, that is the glorious future that awaits us. Man was and will re become God. Now, we'll take a look at the human soul, that is Manas. Once the Kumars they incarnate in man, then during the embodied existence, the radiation of Manas it permeates calm and it associates with the personality. That is the only way for it to function. So it links the monad to the mortal man. That is the role of Manas. And Madame Blavatsky, very famously, she said, keep the link unbroken. It is this link. Okay? Keep the link unbroken. This link is what makes man an intelligent and moral being. It distinguishes him from mere animal. Truly speaking, our Mansic principle is one. Just like the Buddhic principle and the Atmic principle, they are universal, they are one. Same way, Mansic principle is only one. When united with Buddhi, it is called the higher mind. And only during incarnation, it associates with calm and personality, and then it becomes separate. It becomes the lower mind. So, this is called the God in exile. We are the Manasputra, the God, the Kumar, Atma, Buddhi, Manas. But associating with calm and with personality, that God becomes God in exile. The future state and karmic destiny of man, it depends on whether this Manas, it will gravitate more downwards towards calm roop or whether it will gravitate upwards towards Buddhi, which is the spiritual ego. This higher mind, it directs the spiritual will, and the lower mind, it turns it into selfish desire, personal, separate. Basically, if you look at it, there is nothing as higher manas and lower manas. They are not separate. It is just towards which they are gravitating. So the essence of lower manas, it is the same as higher manas. And the lower may become one with the higher by rejecting the karmic impulses. This is the goal of all our spiritual effort and discipline, all the spiritual sadhana that we do, so that the lower manas it becomes one with the higher manas. A great saint has said that to know you are a prisoner of your mind, it is the dawn of wisdom. Mind here is the lower mind. And who is the prisoner? It is that God, Atma Buddhi Manas, the immortal man, which we really are. And that, the immortal man, is a prisoner held by this mind. It is the dawn of wisdom. In our book Voice of Silence, there also it has been mentioned that mind is the slayer of the real. Let the disciples slay the slayer. So now we know what is mind and who he is holding prisoner. Once we know this, we can work towards freeing that prisoner, freeing that God who is in exile. So that was about the mind. Now let us come to the human monad, Atma Buddhi. When I newly came into Theosophy, incidentally, I joined Theosophical Society only in 2015. And in the Noida Lodge, there were so many senior people with so much of knowledge. And I was very fortunate to have been mentored by so many of the senior people. And then one day there was this question during the lodge meeting, what is monad? And I was quite surprised. Why? But it is true because in our Eastern literature, there is no such term as monad. And people usually don't understand many of the terms which come in secret doctrine, in Mahatma letters. So it is necessary to understand what it is, and then we can relate it better to our own scriptures, to the Upanishads, to the Purans. So monad actually means one. It comes from the base called mono, that is unity. And in occultism, monad means the unified triad, Atma, Buddhi, Manas. It might be surprising to some. I'm saying the unified triad, Atma, Buddhi, Manas, which means the Manas is in its pure essence, it is assimilated with Buddhi. So it is the duad, Atma, Buddhi. And these two principles, they work as one. That is why it is called monad. It is important to note that Atma is one, but monads are countless. Okay? We'll see why monads are not annihilated. Even though they merge in the universal, they will not become annihilated. So, how that is possible? The monads, they come into being at the beginning of the universal Manvantar. What is the universal Manvantar? When we saw in the previous slide, that is manifestation of the first, second, and third logos from Parbrahma. Okay, so after Mahapralay or after the universal Pralay, then the first or rather the seventh cosmic plane manifests. That is first logos, second, and third. Okay, so at that time, the monads, they come into being, into manifestation at the beginning of the universal Manvantar. And the esoteric teaching says that these monads were the divine beings from higher and earlier worlds and planets of the previous Manvantar. When their world went into pralay, the karma of those divine beings, it had not been exhausted. So when this new Manvantric cycle begins, they had to continue their journey to work out their karma. So these are the monads. And when the Manvantric cycle begins, they are manifested by differentiation of Mahat. And they are called the sons of Mahat or Manasputra or the Kumars, which we saw in the previous slide. So that is the origin of monads, the divine beings from previous higher worlds whose karma is not completed, but their world goes into pralay. So when the new Manvantar begins, they are manifested again through the universal mind, through Mahat. And then they become those sons of Mahat, they incarnate and they become human egos from the moment they are ensouled in animal man. So you see our evolutionary cycle. Personality is there just for one lifetime. Individuality is there for the entire planetary chain. But these monads, they are coming from a previous and higher world. That is what is our origin. The monads are eternal in that sense. We have already seen that buddhi and manas, it cannot be annihilated either in essence or in consciousness because it is the primordial ray of the one flame, the first logos. So this monad, or rather our higher self, Atma, Buddhi, Manas, it remains immortal throughout the Mahamanvantar, which is the universal Manvantar, or it is called the age of Brahma. Age of Brahma in terms of human years, it is 311 trillion human years. Not million, not billion, trillion. 311 trillion human years. So that calculation and all, a lot is given about the time cycles. One can have a look about the Kalp and the Manvantars and these one day of Brahma and then the age of Brahma. So our spiritual individuality, which is the monad, it is preserved even during pralay. Okay, it means the Atma Buddhi, those two constituents, they are their identity is preserved even during pralay. These during pralay, no doubt that these egos or the monad, they are totally absorbed in that one reality, but each will retain the identity because it has absorbed the spiritual essence of all the personalities that it incarnated into during its evolutionary cycle, the pilgrimage of life. So it is this Atma Buddhi, it The next lower radiation was manas. So this individuality, it kept reincarnating in different personalities, and each time it absorbed the spiritual essence of those experiences into itself. So that is why even when it goes into pralay, it will retain its individuality, because the experiences of each are unique to itself. And then after pralay, when the universe reawakens, those monads can emerge from that state of absorption within the one reality to continue on their karmic journey. So, this is how the eternity of monads is preserved. And this is very beautifully given in the Bhagavad Gita when Sri Krishna tells Arjun that we are eternal. Why are you crying over these dead people? You're not going to kill anybody. Okay. So, let us move further. This monad, which is called the tree of life eternal, the aroma of every personality, it is absorbed in this. So, it is the tree of life eternal. Now, this brings us to the last slide in our presentation today. In the introduction of this topic, I mentioned that septenary man, he goes through a triple evolutionary cycle. So, this was the evolution of the personality, which happens by reincarnation, the physical evolution. Then we have the next larger cycle, which is the evolution of our intellectual development, which happens through individuality. And this happens within the even longer evolutionary cycle of spiritual evolution or the monadic evolution. And these three streams of evolution, they are inextricably interwoven and they interblend at every point. This progressive completion of each evolutionary level from the lower to the higher, that is from personal to individual to monadic, it corresponds to the stages of nirvana. Okay, so when personality is perfected, it is nirvana. When individuality is evolved and perfected, it is paranirvana. And lastly, when the monad merges in the absolute all, that is mahaparanirvana. Okay, if you read the rounds and races, you will realize that these also correspond to the planetary pralay, then next to the solar pralay, and the third to the universal pralay or mahapralay. So, what we just said is that when the personality is perfected, its essence is absorbed by the individuality, and personality is no longer needed. So, that becomes nirvana. The same thing happens when individuality is perfected. The manas is totally absorbed in buddhi, and then only the monadic evolution continues. So, as we conclude today's session, we should keep in mind that by the triple evolutionary process, finally, the essence of all principles, it is merged in Atma, which is the eternal essence. It is the self. So we see that there is no annihilation. By achieving nirvana, man is not annihilated. Rather, there is completion. The Purna manifests from Purna and then it merges in Purna. And this body of ours, it serves as a vehicle for transforming the mortal human being into the immortal divine. So, with this, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you so much. Namaste.
थैंक यू वेरी मच, थैंक यू। सो विभा जी, थैंक यू वेरी मच। अब हमारे जो मित्रगण हैं जो आज अटेंड कर रहे हैं, हम में से किसी को अगर कोई क्वेश्चन है, कमेंट है, तो ज़रूर पूछ लें।
हाँ सर, क्वेश्चन तो कोई नहीं है, लेकिन कुछ कहना चाहती हूँ, अगर परमिशन हो तो।
जी जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, बोलिए
हाँ,
प्लीज।
विभा जी ने इतना क्लियर, इतना सहज और बड़ा सिस्टमैटिक वे में प्रस्तुत किया कि मुझे नहीं लगता कि अंडरस्टैंडिंग में किसी को भी कोई डिफिकल्टी आई होगी। और इतने अच्छी वार्ता देने के लिए मैं उन्हें बहुत बहुत साधुवाद देती हूँ और उज्जवल भविष्य की कामना करती हूँ।
थैंक यू सो मच वसुमती जी।
बहुत सुंदर, बहुत सुंदर।
थैंक यू।
और कोई हम में से कुछ कमेंट या सवाल करना चाहता है? मेरे ख्याल से ललिता जी आप कुछ बोलना चाह रही थी।
वैसे तो सब स्पष्ट है, स्पष्ट ही बहुत अच्छी तरीके से विभा जी ने एक्सप्लेन किया है ना। लेकिन हम कैसे तारीफ करें, मतलब बहुत अच्छा बोलती है विभा जी, रियली बहुत अच्छा।
थैंक यू आंटी सो
थैंक
मच। मेरा इस ओर सिर्फ एक ही विचार होता है कि ये जो ज्ञान हमें दिया है महात्माओं ने, ये इसलिए दिया है ताकि ऐसा ना हो कि हम केवल उसे बोलें और सुने, बल्कि हमें अपने अंदर एक सेल्फ ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन लानी है। ये
हाँ,
जानने के बाद कि हमारा क्या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, तो हम किस लोअर प्रिंसिपल्स में जी रहे हैं, और हमारा क्या ध्येय होना चाहिए, गोल होना चाहिए, हमें किस ओर बढ़ना चाहिए, उसी ओर हमें ये प्रयत्न करने हैं। और
बिल्कुल।
आई थिंक ये थियोसॉफी के जो लेक्चर्स हैं, इनका यही औचित्य है, यही इनका
वाह
टारगेट।
सिस्टर।
यस यस।
इमेंस लिटरेचर हम लोग को दिया हुआ है, हम लोग समझें, एब्जॉर्ब करें सब चीजों को। आप कुछ कह रहे थे राजकिशोर जी?
हाँ सिस्टर, आपको बहुत बहुत अच्छा से डिलिब्रेशन देने के लिए बधाई। और
थैंक यू।
लगा कि आपने, आपका मैंने सुना था भुवनेश्वर में, जब ओम पद्मे हुम, पद्मे मणि हुम पर आपने चर्चा की थी, तो वहां भी मैंने आपका लाइव देखा। और
जी
उसमें जो हमको लगा कि कुछ कमियां थी, या कमी तो नहीं था, वो भी एकदम ग्रेट डिलिब्रेशन था आपका। तो उससे, और ये 1 घंटे, उसमें आपने 3 दिन करी थी, लेकिन इसमें जो अभी 1 घंटे में जो लगा कि उसका कुछ हिस्सा इसमें थोड़ा ज्यादा आज मिल गया, तो वो था। और उसमें से एक चीज मैं कहना चाहता था, उसमें थोड़ा सा क्लेरिफिकेशन चाहिए था आपको अभी,
जी।
जहां पर मैं थोड़ा सा लटका हुआ हूँ। जब लाइफ आफ्टर डेथ, या जो बेसिक थियोसॉफी है, तो उस बेसिक थियोसॉफी बुक्स में एक जगह जो आपने आज भी स्पष्टीकरण आपने किया है उसका, कि जो जो चेतना है, जो कॉन्शसनेस है, वो बोला वो लाइट है, टच द लाइट बट नॉट रीच द फ्लेम।
हम्म
ये जो वर्ड आपने कही, और एक बुक्स में वो लिखा है, किसी राइटर ने उसको बहुत अच्छे से कोट किया हुआ है।
हम्म
और उसने कहा कि आत्मा, जब वो आत्मा का लाइट, जब वो उस परमात्मा के लाइट में से मिलता है, तो उसको छू तो सकता है, बस उसको टच नहीं कर, मतलब, या उसमें एंट्री तो ले सकता है, पर उसको टच नहीं कर सकता। और ये कंफ्यूजन हमको दूसरे सनातनी शास्त्रों से मिलता है, क्योंकि अपने लोग सनातन से बाहर नहीं है, बुद्धिज्म से बाहर नहीं है। तो दूसरे में कहता है कि पानी को अगर आत्मिक तत्व मानते हैं, और पानी को पानी में डाल दो तो पानी में ही समा जाता है, तो वहां पर वो मे इंटर बट नॉट टच द फ्लेम, ये वाली बात पानी के साथ लागू नहीं होता। लेकिन जब लाइट के बारे में बात करते हैं, तो शायद वो सूर्य की रोशनी है, या सूर्य की रोशनी से हम लोग कंपेयर उसको करते हैं, कि भाई सूर्य की रोशनी जो किरण है, उस किरण में अगर दूसरा कोई किरण टच करे, तो वो टच तो कर सकता है, वो उससे मिल तो सकता है, लेकिन उस सूरज का जहां से वो फ्लेम निकलता है वहां तक जा नहीं सकता। तो थोड़ा सा ये कंफ्यूजन है कि वहां तक जा क्यों नहीं सकता, जब पानी में एक बूंद डाले तो पानी में ही जा सकता है, पानी में मिल भी सकता है, पानी में जा भी सकता है। तो ये जो फ्लेम है, जिस लाइट की आप चर्चा की है, थोड़ा सा इस पे में मेरा कंफ्यूजन है, थोड़ा सा इसको क्लियर कर देते तो अच्छा होता है। बाद बाकी आपका डेलिब्रेशन बेस्ट है। मैं ओम पद, जो आपने एक और भी जो आज डायग्राम दिखाया था, वो डायग्राम वहां भुवनेश्वर में भी मैंने देखा, वो जो लाइव आपका सेशन था उसमें, तो बहुत अच्छा लगा। और थोड़ा सा इस पर अगर थोड़ा फोकस कर दे तो और
थैंक यू वेरी मच ब्रदर राजकिशोर जी।
बढ़िया।
आपने जो कहा वो बिल्कुल सही है। यू कैन एंटर द लाइट बट यू कैन नॉट टच द फ्लेम। इसका बहुत गूढ़ अर्थ है, और ये दिस इज अ स्टेटमेंट फॉर मेडिटेशन। तो इसमें हमने जब ये कहा इन द स्टेजेस ऑफ मैनिफेस्टेशन, जो फर्स्ट लोगोस है या फर्स्ट लेवल ऑफ मैनिफेस्टेशन है, वो फर्स्ट कॉज, इट इज द एब्स्ट्रैक्ट लोगोस, इट इज नॉट येट मैनिफेस्ट, वो एब्स्ट्रैक्ट है। एब्स्ट्रैक्ट यानी समथिंग विच इज सब्जेक्टिव, it it does not still exist,
राइट।
it is still a radiation of Parbrahma. ठीक है, तो that is the one flame or the first cause, the first logos, right? And it becomes pure awareness in the second stage, the second logos, which is spirit matter, which corresponds to buddhi, or it corresponds to the light of atma. तो हम वो प्रज्ञा वाली स्टेज तक तो पहुंच सकते हैं, यानी मोनाडिक स्टेज, आत्मा बुद्धि, वी कैन बिकम प्योर आत्मा बुद्धि, okay, by perfecting all the lower principles and by purifying manas. So manas is fully assimilated in buddhi, so now we can become atma buddhi. So that is pure awareness. But how can we become pure atma? Because pure atma is abstract, it is not on the plane of manifestation, it is the first cause. तो उसको हम जानेंगे कैसे? जानने वाला कोई है ही नहीं, वो तो उसमें समा गया, right? It has become abstract. To have the awareness, you have to remain on the plane of buddhi. So by reaching the stage of buddhi, you have entered the light, because buddhi is nothing, it is the vehicle of atma. So you have entered the light, but you cannot touch the flame. The moment you touch the flame, you become the flame, you are the flame, you are the atma. इसलिए ऐसा कहा है। ओके, यू कैन नॉट टच द फ्लेम, मतलब ये नहीं आप उसे छू नहीं सकते, आप स्वयं फ्लेम है। और वो बनने के बाद में, जैसे आपने कहा कि पानी में तो पानी मिल जाता है, तो फिर पानी को जानने के लिए वो व्हीकल यानी उपाधि बुद्धि की आवश्यकता होती है। दैट इज हाउ आई अंडरस्टैंड, परहैप्स somebody may understand it differently.
मैम
Yes.
हेलो मैम। मैम जो अभी आप अभी एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं उससे उसी के कंटिन्यूएशन में अगर मैं अंडरस्टैंड कर रही हूँ जैसे कि इज द ऑब्जर्वर एंड ऑब्जर्व्ड इज वन इन दिस स्टेट जो
Correct.
आपने अभी एक्सप्लेन किया, ये
Correct.
वही चीज है।
बिल्कुल। इसको आप इसमें योग में देखिए, दीज आर द डिफरेंट स्टेजेस ऑफ समाधि, निर्विकल्प, सविकल्प। सो व्हेन इट इज सविकल्प, then there is an awareness of something. The moment you say awareness of something, it implies duality. There is a perceiver
हाँ,
who is aware, and there is something which is being perceived, right? तो duality है वहां पे। लेकिन जब यूनिटी हो जाती है, वो निर्विकल्प समाधि है। The knower, known, and knowledge, everything becomes one. So that is the flame, the one flame.
मतलब कि प्योर अवेयरनेस है वो स्टेट, देयर इज नो नथिंग, ऑब्जर्वेशन एंड ऑब्जर्वर नथिंग इज देयर, है ना?
In the flame, there is no awareness. It is pure existence. It is Sat.
एग्जिस्टेंस, ओके।
Awareness comes in the second stage, which is Buddhi, or the second logos.
ओ ओके ओके।
तो निर्विकल्प समाधि जिसे कहते हैं, उसमें अवेयरनेस तो है ही नहीं ना।
अच्छा, हाँ जी, थैंक यू मैम।
You're most welcome. And I would still again like to reiterate कि ये इतने गूढ़ कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं कि हर एक इंडिविजुअली इस पे जितना कॉन्टेम्पलेट करेंगे, उनको उसमें से उतने अर्थ समझ में आएंगे। ये कोई ये पत्थर की लकीर नहीं है कि जो हमने यहाँ कह दिया सो कह दिया। ये तो आप उस पे, इसीलिए तो श्रवण, मनन और निधिध्यासन ये करना आवश्यक है।
थैंक यू विभा जी, थैंक यू। कोई और सिस्टर या ब्रदर कुछ और कमेंट या क्वेश्चन कुछ करना चाहेंगे? माथुर जी, आप कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे?
नहीं नहीं,
हेलो।
थैंक यू, वेरी मार्वलस एक्सप्लेनेशन। आपने बहुत अच्छा हम लोगों को समझाया। विल सी दैट यू नेक्स्ट टाइम आफ्टर 2-3 months, whenever you find time, please give us another talk.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here on this forum and this opportunity to speak to all of you. Thank you all for participating.
थैंक यू वेरी मच। राजकिशोर जी, आप कुछ बोलना चाह रहे हो कुछ?
या सिस्टर सिस्टर बोले थे कि जो कंप्लीट कंप्लीट को उत्पत्ति दे रहा है, ये इसका मीनिंग क्या था?
ये तो
पूर्ण
हमारा
से
श्लोक है।
पूर्ण की उत्पत्ति।
हाँ, ये श्लोक आपने पढ़ा होगा, ये तो उपनिषदों से ही है। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। यानी परब्रह्म से ब्रह्म की उत्पत्ति हुई, ब्रह्म भी पूर्ण है, पर ब्रह्म भी पूर्ण है, तो पूर्ण से पूर्ण की उत्पत्ति हुई, और ये पूर्ण फिर उसी में समा जाता है, तो पूर्ण फिर से पूर्ण में मर्ज हो जाता है। यूनिवर्सल प्रलय, महाप्रलय, यानी ब्रह्मांड पूरा फिर से पर ब्रह्म में समा जाता है।
या थैंक यू, थैंक यू, थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू विभा जी, थैंक यू ऑल द पार्टिसिपेंट्स। अब हम मीटिंग क्लोज करेंगे विद द यूनिवर्सल प्रेयर। O hidden light, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature, O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Thank you very much. Thank you to all. The meeting is closed now.
थैंक यू, नमस्ते।
Thank you. Thank you.